I bet after a month of this, you're probably tired of me talking about Fudge. You're probably as sick of Fudge as Peter was by the end of the series. Unfortunately for you, I've got one more Fudge video up my sleeve. Welcome back to the Fudgetrospective. When I was a kid, I was always very cognizant of when there were adaptations of books I liked. Because while I ended up disliking a lot of them, it's always interesting to see how certain filmmakers or writers make a movie or television series out of a book. What they change, what they keep, etc. But this one slipped past me. I had never known that Fudge had gotten any sort of adaptation until I started doing research for the retrospective, and I am absolutely annoyed that I was never told that this existed. Though part of the reason for that might be because it's super hard to track down. I was only able to find 4 episodes online, and the cheapest VHS tape was a 5th episode, though the show initially started out with a movie that adapted the plot of Fudgemania, which was the most recent book to have been released at the time. Unfortunately, I was unable to procure an affordable copy of that, but I've got this tape, plus whatever I was able to illicitly download from the internet. The show ran for 2 seasons between 1995 and 1997 on ABC, and then CBS, which is another part that sort of amazes me, because I figured that this was going to be some small show done by some obscure network in Canada that gets imported to the US, and that's why I've never heard of it. But no, ABC and CBS. The show mainly consisted of adaptations of chapters from the 3 books that were released at the time, Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing, Super Fudge, and Fudgemania, although some episodes were original plot lines featuring the characters from the show. The show starred Jake Richardson as Peter, who you might recognize as Reggie Van Doe from Richie Rich's Christmas Wish, or as that stoner kid who approaches Jay and Silent Bob in both Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back during the Jungle Love segment, and in Clerks 2 when he approaches them outside of movies. I, on the other hand, recognize him from this one episode of House that he guest starred in where he was the patient of the week, and he got a toothpick lodged in his intestines, the imagery of which continues to give me nightmares to this day. I am very careful with toothpicks. Luke Tarsitano stars as Fudge, who you might remember as having played Frederick Crane on Frasier for a little bit before the main actor took over, and their mother Anne is played by Eve Plum. Looks like Maureen McCormick wasn't the only Brady girl to be the mother in a weird 90s adaptation. Why should Marcia get to be the only one to do it? I kid, but this isn't even the weirdest thing that Eve Plum did in the 90s. There was the final Brady Bunch sequel series, The Bradys, which took the half-hour family sitcom and turned it into an hour-long comedy drama, which reunited everyone except, ironically, Maureen McCormick as Marcia. And it had this melodramatic theme song, and in the first episode there's a car accident, and, I think I got a little sidetracked there. Maybe we'll come back to the Bradys at some point in the future. Today, however, we're here to talk about Fudge. Now, because I couldn't find the entire series, I can't really do a review of it as a whole. But then again, because a lot of it is adaptation, I've already touched on most of it in the previous 4 videos. So I'm going to go over some changes that the adaptations made to the stories and do a full review of the 1 episode I found that was an original story. Let's pop the tape in and take a look at it. The 2nd episode of the series, How Turtle Got His Name, is naturally an adaptation of the Dribble storyline from Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing, though it's much more compressed and undercuts the emotional value of having Peter only have Dribble for a single night instead of several months, as was depicted in the novel. Though the television version does have notable improvements. In the book, it seemed as if Warren, Ann, and Muriel just ignored how Peter had an emotional connection to the turtle in favor of worrying about Fudge. Though that could have possibly been because our narrator is Peter, so we're seeing it through the lens he does, and he himself felt that way. The TV show actually has Warren and Ann apologize for Fudge's behavior, and instead of just giving Peter the information about Dribble being dead, he and Muriel have a touching moment where she consoles him through the loss.
I know it's hard to lose someone you love. Especially in such an unexpected way.
There are also differences in how the dinner with the Yarbys has Fudge join them instead of being sent to bed, and also features Warren losing the contract the night of, without having the stamp debacle the next morning. Plus, we see more of Anne and Warren's reactions to the loss.
We don't have kids, Hatcham, but if we did, you can bet we'd teach them to eat this repulsive soup.
Other than that, it's a pretty straight adaptation, apart from giving Henry a more prominent role in a few jokes, as he was a supporting character on the show.
Look what I want, Henry.
Yikes. An arachnid.
The Birthday Bash is also a relatively straightforward adaptation, save for replacing Ralph, the fat kid, with Daniel Mannheim. He's 5, wanna make something of it? And you might recognize the girl playing Jenny there as Brenda Song, who, if you're my age, you probably recognize as London Tipton from The Suite Life of Zack and Cody, and the title character from Wendy Wu, Homecoming Warrior. Other differences include a lack of Muriel helping out, with Warren instead taking that position. However, he gets a subplot with Henry, who is a struggling actor, and they hang out in the lobby rehearsing a scene all day while he's supposed to be out buying ice cream cones for the party.
It seems empty and useless. It gets melted down and used again and again and again forever.
The episode also removes Jenny's exorcist scene and Dribble's presence, for obvious reasons. Otherwise, the plot is the same. Fudge has a party and wants Peter to help out, though he'd rather hang out with Jimmy Fargo since they're playing an important neighborhood basketball game. However, in the show, Jimmy decides that instead of helping Peter, he'll just find a new partner in Sheila Tubman.
In bird culture, this is considered a dick move.
Shenanigans ensue at the party, and the ending is sweet, where Fudge remarks that he didn't need a party with his friends. He just wanted to spend the day with his big brother. Which is maddening for Anne, since she tried to spend the day making sure everything went well, when everything went well from the moment Fudge woke Peter up in the morning. Sweet and funny. The TV stars an adaptation of the chapter where Fudge stars in the Toddle Bike commercial, with a few major differences. It's not just any other day, it's Take Your Child to Work Day, and Anne, who works at a museum instead of as a dental hygienist in the show, can't take Fudge, so Warren has to take both of the boys to the agency instead. They also get left alone, with Janet, Warren's assistant, being written out entirely. Everything goes roughly like it did in the book, although the method of getting Fudge to cooperate isn't reverse psychology, and is instead bribing him with a special live show of the Dancing Birds, who starred in a commercial from Warren's agency that Fudge really enjoys, which had been mentioned in Super Fudge. We also don't have Warren keeping the commercial a secret from Anne, and we never actually see the final product, though Peter tells us that it didn't really amount to all that much. Fudge Meets Ratface is probably the most faithful of the adaptations, save for excising all the Princeton stuff and having it take place in New York. There is also the addition of a frankly humorous school psychologist who comments on every part of Principal Green's ideas for figuring out what to do with Fudge.
Was he like chocolate? Mr. Green, bribing a child?
Other than that, it's essentially the same, save for giving Peter a secondary goal, because it's a TV show and not a chapter in a larger story, the goal being to get back to class in time to watch Jimmy Fargo's presentation, because he doesn't like public speaking and wants his best friend there for moral support, which once Fudge is delivered to the other kindergarten teacher, he manages to do in the nick of time. Overall, the adaptations were really good, and are probably the best case scenario in terms of adaptation. Not much was changed, and when something was changed, it was ultimately better for the story. We lost Ralph in the birthday episode, but we gained seeing Daniel Mannheim, who is infinitely more interesting. And even the ending being different, it was a better ending, because instead of exasperation, we get a sweet, touching brotherly moment. Especially that bit in the Dribble episode with Muriel and Peter having that touching moment. In the book, it was more interesting to have Peter be neglected until he got Turtle. On the show, it worked better to have Muriel actually care about Peter's plight. But can the original plot lines dreamed up by TV writers hold a candle to the brilliant writing given to us by New York Times best-selling author Judy Blume? Let's find out. This is Saving Up is Hard to Do. The episode, which is actually the third one, but I saved it for last because it was the only original plot I could find, centers around Peter wanting to get Anne and Warren a great gift for their anniversary using money that he earned himself, saving for 2 months, which he has to stash in hiding spots around his room to keep it away from the prying fingers of Fudge. Fudge, once he learns what an anniversary is, wants to buy them a present as well, but being a toddler, he doesn't have any income to do that with. Any real income, that is.
Chocolate money. Ugh, which melted to your soft. And a couple of lira that Grandma brought back from Rome.
Peter goes to a local store with Jimmy and runs into Sheila there, and tries to find a present that Anne and Warren will love that he can get for $19 or less. He picks out a new tea kettle because the one they have at home is broken, but both Jimmy and Sheila disagree with him, giving their input into what he should get. Jimmy wanting to help Peter get the most expensive item before tax, and Sheila wanting the gift to have a little romance in it.
Peter, check this out. $16.50 plus the tax of $136. Throw in a couple of candy bars and we're there.
Look, isn't this beautiful?
Look, guys, I really appreciate your help and all, but...
We'll keep looking.
Following a humorous montage of gifts that either make Peter shake his head or burst out laughing at, Jimmy and Sheila bring their final ideas. Jimmy's is an ice cream maker that even Peter is excited for, but it costs more than he has. Sheila's suggestion is a heart-shaped pillow that has the word love embroidered on it, which Peter and Jimmy laugh about. During dessert that night, the old tea kettle finally kicks the bucket, exasperating Anne, but giving Peter satisfaction that his gift is going to be very well received. However...
Don't worry, people are known for your anniversary.
Younger siblings just can't keep secrets. Seriously, it's gotta be a thing with them, because my little sister could never keep any secrets either. So me and my brother always put her name on the gift, but never told her what it was until the day of. Peter is mad about the cat being out of the bag, and is mad about having to go return the gift and get a new one so that they'll still be surprised the day of. Fudge wants to contribute as well, but Peter reminds him of a very important fact.
You don't have any money, you can't get any money, so just forget the whole idea.
Fudge asks Warren for money, and when he finds out it's for a present, he gives Fudge $1 whole and tells him that sometimes it's better to let your money grow instead of spending it. The next day, Anne waits in the lobby with Henry because she ordered something for Warren and doesn't want him to see it. Fudge asks Henry what he can get for his parents with $1, but Henry tells him that if he wants to do that, he'll need more than just $1, and Fudge gets an idea.
Can I ride the elevator?
All right, Mr. H, you got the job.
During his trips up and down the elevator, Fudge begs for tips from the other tenants, occasionally saying stuff that neighbors misconstrue, leading to misunderstandings later on.
Did your parents not have much, how can I say, extra cash these days?
Nope. My dad gave me his very last dollar.
Ay, pobrecito, you poor little boy.
You know, it's odd. Mrs. Ruiz brought over soup and rolls and a whole baked turkey.
That is so weird. She's lived alone so long. How could she accidentally make all that food?
Though one might wonder why she'd take the word of Fudge, considering that with all the chaos that goes on in this series, the neighbors must know that Fudge is a troublemaker. Fudge makes a killing in tips and gets a fortune cookie from a takeout delivery guy, while Peter returns to Weber's with Jimmy to find another present, despite Jimmy wondering why it matters that they found out a day early if it's a gift that they're gonna like, but Peter disagrees, trying to find them something decent and coming back upon Sheila's suggestion.
Maybe I should get him this. Dad, you can't. I won't let you.
He settles on the pillow, and before going out for dinner, Fudge decides it's time for them to give their gifts. Peter's gift gets a decidedly lukewarm reception once they see it's not the tea kettle.
Oh, Peter, this is so nice.
This is nice. So very...
Nice.
Fudge's gift is, well, it's the ice cream maker. Anne and Warren, to their credit, are immediately suspicious of the gift.
Fudge,
Where exactly did you get enough money to buy this?
I asked before, on the elevator. It was easy.
They're going to return all the money Fudge took, being responsible, but they also decide that they're going to keep the ice cream maker.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for Fudge's sake.
Peter is angry again, this time because Fudge's gift is better, despite Peter trying so hard and earning his own money. Anne and Warren go to talk to Peter because it's a half-hour sitcom. We get the touching family conversation, accompanied by the slightly sad music.
Not many kids your age would even remember their parents' anniversary, let alone buy them a present.
Anne and Warren tell Peter that they'll like the gift if he really likes it, or he can go back and get the tea kettle, which they'd be more able to use. And then the episode ends with Fudge asking if he could keep the pillow, which Peter refuses, but then Fudge offers to pay for it, pulling out a wad of cash.
Fudge!
Saving Up is Hard to Do was a great episode, because not only was it good and felt like it was written by Bloom herself, but it feels like something that should have happened in Double Fudge. Like, seriously, apart from the few concessions made to sitcom format, it has the exact same pacing and development as a chapter from one of the books, and the plot would have been right at home in the midst of Fudge's money obsession. Fudge is, well, it's probably the most perfect adaptation that I have ever seen. The writers for the show have a perfect handle on the characters, and even when they're not leaning on Bloom's plot lines, the show's voice still feels like it did in the episodes ripped straight out of the book. And the actors are perfect in their roles, especially Tarsitano as Fudge and Eve Plum as Anne. I chose to look at this show because of the novelty of it and because I had never heard of it, but I am so glad that I found the most utterly brilliant adaptation of a children's book that's ever existed. And there's no better way to close out our retrospective on Mr. Farley Drexel Hatcher than with a great adaptation. And that brings us to the end of the Fudgetrospective. I hope you've enjoyed the past month as much as I did, and I hope you're looking forward to what I'll be doing in the future. Speaking of future, next week I need a bit of a break from books. See you next time.